Hello there, commanders, and welcome to another Total War Arena news update. It has been quite a while since we had our last one, but earlier this morning another patch has been released, and that is version 4.11. And we do have some balanced patch notes in here, so let's dive straight into them. I'll give you my brief thoughts about what I think, but I'm reading into it blindly, so I'll just mock it up as we go, I guess. Anyway, let's go. Zhuge Liang. Okay. There was an overwhelming feedback that Zhuge Liang sucks after his release, and people were asking for Sun Ren. I guess we are not getting Sun Ren, but hey, at least Zhuge Liang will no longer be as shit as he was. Let's see if he will actually be good. Okay, skill, summon Dongfeng. What? The basic skill cooldown time has been adjusted from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. So it has been reduced. So that must be Master Patience. Okay, but that is on 20 seconds cooldown. Skill base movement speed penalty adjusted from 40% reduction to 20% reduction. So he will no longer be as stationary and easy to shoot while having inferior range to archers. So that's also something good. Skill shooting distance increase adjusted, so increased from 1.1 to 1.12. Well, that's just 2% more range, but yeah, sure. So overall, that skill has been buffed. Still 15 seconds. The problem with that skill is that it takes 10 seconds to ramp up. That would need to be removed to make that skill any useful. The 20% reduction, I mean from 40% to 20% reduction. I mean, you're still slower, so dodging flat arc volleys will be hard. I mean, will be close to impossible anyway. And then dodging high arc volleys will be again very hard. So yeah, I mean, you really need to use it when you're not under fire. And that's about it. And then you're getting a little bit more range with that as well, so... I'm still not overall fan of the design of this ability. So, like, getting slower... Yeah. Like, it would be cool if that could be an ability that could help you deal with archers. Like, oh, enemy archers are incoming. Okay, let me use Master Patience. Right? That's not happening. The Master Patience is a toggle. So it would need to stop being a toggle for that to be balanced then. Well, but that's how they're doing it, so... Yeah, still not a fan. Okay, skill. The Art of Rocco. Those are some weird names, but okay. Skill influence range adjusted from 100 to 120. Skill duration adjusted from 2 to 4. So that must be, what is it? Dragon Sight? Sight of the Dragon? Eye of the something like that. I don't remember the exact name, but Dragon something. So okay, so it works that it reveals all the units within its range, so it kind of hunts them. Right, and it does it now for 4 seconds. It also reveals you for 4 seconds. So while this looks like a buff, it's also a nerf because, well, it's just a double-edged sword. You reveal all the units within 120 meter radius around the unit that's using it, but the unit that is using it also becomes visible for 4 seconds. But now that means that if you cycle all three units, the ability on all 3 units, there we go. English is so hard. Anyway, that means that you can keep up the vision for 12 seconds rather than just 6. Well, you can obviously increase it later, but I think that upgrade comes at tier 9 or 10. So up to that point, that ability was pretty bad. So now if you're in a forest of some sorts or any other terrain like tall grass, or you cannot see through a hill because there's a cliff in front of you, that's helpful. Just be careful not to reveal yourself to enemy cavalry and announce that you're unprotected. Yeah, just be careful. Like, Zhuge abilities are really, you need to be very careful and very smart about how to use them. But even if you use them correctly, they're not very powerful. So that's why I still think Zhuge will suck. He'll suck less with these buffs, but he'll still kind of suck. Anyway, let's move on. Alexander the Great. Ooh, that's interesting. Hammer. Skill-based movement speed increased from 10% to 40%. Finally, Hammer will be able to compete with a regular cavalry charge that the unit has. Great. Well, Hammer buffs are always welcome. Hammer should be a very powerful charge, and for some reason it isn't. Wedge. Skill melee defense penalty has been reduced from 60% to 20%. That really doesn't matter because you never should be in a melee engagement while in Wedge anyway. So if you've done that, you're bad, essentially. Skill effective time adjusted from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. So essentially, how quickly the wedge forms. Right, so now it forms within 2 seconds rather than 3, which is good, but I assume wedge will still be drunk. Sorry for showing my Discord. Continuing on. Hannibal. Skill, Heavenly Weapon. I would assume that is at Portes. The skill melee base hit bonus has been adjusted from 30% to 15%. Wasn't it 25% base? Well, it has multiple phases anyway, right? Is it used to? I don't know, I need to really update my Ad Portas knowledge. I haven't played Hannibal because I can't afford him, because he's super fucking expensive. And it doesn't really lay within my niche that I play, I guess. So there's that. But yeah, there's really no excuse for me not knowing exactly the stats of Ad Portas. But yeah, there we go. Hannibal, a slight nerf to his melee attack on one of his abilities, which I presume is Ad Portas. Arminius, skill penetration. That will be infiltration. Great translation there. The basic skill cooldown has been adjusted from 180 seconds to 150 seconds. Well, that ability is a pure meme anyway, so it was a meme, it remains a meme, doesn't really matter, honestly. Vercingetorix, skill unyielding. Iron Discipline? Or... yeah, okay, not Iron Discipline. It is... this is called Defiance. It used to be called Berserk, and I still want to call it that way, but yeah, it is Defiance. Adjusted the time to determine the invalidation of the ability to escape melee from 0.5 seconds to 1 second. So essentially, when you disengage from Defiance, it would disappear after half a second. Now it disappears after 1 second. Was it so short? I thought it was a bit longer. Like 4 seconds or 2 seconds. Okay. I still think it should be probably like in few seconds range. Because dropping a melee for 1 second, like, it's really such a narrow margin. Yeah, I think it should be more forgiving. That being said, Defiance isn't a very long-lasting ability anyway. It's not like Vengeance or Ad Portas or Oath of Perseverance. You know, the abilities that give you huge buffs, but you can disengage from and then they will disable, right? That is the same category, but all of those other abilities that I just listed last for much longer, while unyielding, while Defiance is much shorter. So I guess it is fine. Overall, I think it's a good change. Okay. Unit balance adjustment. The purpose of this balance adjustment is to readjust the positioning of crossbowmen and repeaters in remote units. So remote being ranged units. Okay. Javelin. Attack range of all javelin units +5. I mean, that's definitely good for javelin players. They will not complain, and I'm one of them. I mean, it won't really change that much. It will help them deal with archers better. Oh well, it's just a straight up buff, right? So... okay, let's read forward. Crossbowmen. Total damage increased by 7%. Please note that if the enemy has armor, increasing the damage of the projectile will have a greater effect on the unit's attributes. More like if the enemy doesn't have armor, because then it will matter, because just increasing damage, the normal damage, if it's blocked by armor, you can increase it by 10, 15, 20%. If it still doesn't break through the armor, it doesn't do anything, and the damage is still the same. And the crossbowman damage is quite low, so I don't know if 7% will actually achieve anything. But that remains to be seen, I guess. I mean, you can do the math, but I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I dare not try to recall them from my memory. But overall, in the tests I have done, is that crossbowmen don't deal any more than AP damage to pretty much anything, other than maybe shooting barbarians in the back, but that's about it. Continuing on. Repeater. In the last balance adjustment, the combat effectiveness of the crossbowman was improved and the battlefield positioning of the javelin unit was too close, restricted from reloading units. Therefore, the ratio of normal damage and armor piercing damage has been adjusted in this version. Reducing armor piercing damage helps increase basic weapon damage. That's per unit. Okay. So last patch they essentially doubled the armor piercing damage, and now they are toning it down a little bit. So by 3 points, 3 points, 2 points, 3 points, 2 points. Okay. And they are increasing the regular damage by 4 points. Which I think in the last patch they decreased it by 4 points across the board. So they're just literally coming back to where they were in terms of the regular damage. And armor piercing is still higher than on release, but it's not as high as in the previous patch, because previous patch repeating crossbowmen were dealing like a lot of damage, like javelin level of damage, while having better range. So, you know, that was kind of an issue. And also more models. But anyway, do they have more models? I actually don't remember. I really should know these things. But either way, the damage was too much and now it is being toned down. Still remains to be seen how it will play out now, but I think crossbowmen will still be quite strong. That being said, I don't really have access to Caesar, so javelins they still have their place, and with this buff to javelin, well, again, we will see. I mean, now javelin range, because repeating crossbow range was just barely above javelin range, and now the gap is even closer. So yeah, we'll see. Barbarian camp archers. Ooh, even more ranged units changes. Some archers from the barbarian camp have strong survivability, especially with relatively high shield armor. That is true, and the shield armor essentially meant that barbarian archers would pretty much always win a 1v1 duel against Greek archers, and Greek archers needed to play around their range advantage in order to be even able to win that duel. Which is, you know, range advantage is quite easy to abuse to win the duel, but still the damage they were dealing, like Greek archers dealing damage to barbarian archers compared to barbarian archers dealing damage to Greek archers, the gap was a little bit too much. So yeah, nerfing barbarian archers in terms of shield armor I think is definitely a good idea. So props for CA for noticing that and doing that. Okay, and yeah, great. And Ambusher is the only unit that is getting a weapon damage nerf, but let just that sink in, that Ambushers were the single highest damage, had the single highest damage out of all barbarian archers. Tier 7 barbarian archers had higher base damage than tier 10 barbarian archers. And after all the upgrades, they had even more. So yeah, let that sink in. That tier 7 unit had more damage than tier 10 unit. And now it will still be up there in terms of the amount of damage they can deal. But well, nerf by 5 is actually much more than it may seem. So we'll see how ambushers will be after this patch. Combat consumables. In version 4.8 we have reduced the number of consumables available to units in battle, but we will further adjust the attributes of consumables to improve the balance of battle. Wooden stakes and infantry stakes. Blood volume reduced by 25%. I guess that is HP. Because really what else? Infantry roadblock by 27% and roadblock, so that the one that is available to artillery, that has been decreased by 23%. Okay, that is definitely a step in the right direction, but I would just straight up remove barricades because they're annoying. They absolutely break pathfinding, so either fix pathfinding or remove barricades, CA, like really. I mean, just fix pathfinding, right? Fix coherency issues, because those are underlying issues, are underlying problems behind many other issues, or issues, problems, you can use it exchanging, either way. So yes, I guess what I'm saying is barricades really don't have a place in Arena and they shouldn't be there, and stakes, well, yes, they need to be nerfed, so thank you for finally nerfing them after such a long time and a series of buffs ever since patch 3.1. Took them a while to realize that they have overdone it. So I hope there will be more stake nerfs coming, but I would just see some kind of a stake mini rework so that they actually, you know, can be balanced, because as they are right now, they're still broken. Still broken. Roman infantry will still spam them. They will be still by far single most useful consumable in the game and available to Roman infantry. Yeah, if it was available just to light artillery, I mean, even if that, it would still need a rework. Stakes themselves. So yeah, I'm okay with the change, right? It's a small step in the right direction, but the final destination is still quite far away. Not until they just rework stakes, and that's it. Okay, bug fixes. Fix an issue that caused the client to crash when switching units after clicking to... yeah, sure. Fix the problem that the start fight button on the Friends live broadcast. Please remove that feature. Fix the problem that 50% of the advanced account information description was displayed as 0.5. Yep. I actually had my premium account disappear, like I had 8 days of premium account and then after 1 day it disappeared. It was weird. Thanks CA or NetEase, whoever was responsible for that. Either way, okay, summary of the patch. I think it is a good patch overall. It's a lot of small steps in the right direction, but as I said, for stakes like Zhuge Liang, he's still gonna be kinda shit. He'll be much less shit, but still shit. Hammer, sure, a little bit stronger, but still much weaker than other charges, which is again a pain. Wedge, still drunk, and this will not help. Hannibal, slight nerf. I don't think the melee attack was really the issue, but well, Hannibal's a different topic. Infiltration was a meme, still a meme. This change is very slight, but I guess welcome. Doesn't change much. Yeah, the biggest change is here to ranged units, right? +5 on javelins is pretty considerable. Crossbowmen 7%, maybe it will amount to something, because the previous, as I said, they wouldn't even deal more than AP when shooting barbarians in the back, if you recall my videos of the previous of Crossbowmen. So that was pretty bad. A ranged unit shoots a naked unit in the back and still doesn't deal more than AP damage. That's just wrong, because you're not getting really any reward for shooting an enemy from the back. So yeah, so there's that. Repeating crossbows. yeah, they're quite strong, if not OP, and so now they have been toned down. We'll see if they will continue to be OP. So again, change definitely the right direction, and we'll see if that is okay now. Here, definitely change in a good direction. I approve of that. Here, small step, very, very small step in the right direction, but at least in the right direction, right? So overall, good patch, full of small steps in the right direction, but the destinations are still quite far in a lot of these cases. So yeah, that has been the summary of the patch, and I will see you on Arena's Battlefields, Commanders.